Thank you, President Carroll. Appreciate it. Today's program is something that I feel very, very passionate about, and I feel like that you will gain more of a love for it after this program as well. To tell you a little bit about how I got started in it, I was honored to be on our grand jury, and sometimes out of sight, out of mind. But some of the subjects that we discussed in there, and some of the situations that the youth were actually presented and have to live with and tasked with, just really got to me and opened my eyes. Then, I guess about 6 months after that, I was invited to a Boys and Girls Club at another county, up around Titus County, in which I didn't know that much about Boys and Girls Club, okay, or what I've always heard about it all my life, but I didn't really know more about it. I said, yeah, I'll go up there, see what's going on. So went up there, and I heard, a testimony from a gentleman that had lived in a car with his mother and his sister over around the Marshall area, and I tell you, it said volumes to me about, yes, that is potentially one answer to the situation that we have in our communities and what's going on. That is one answer that we could have. So, got turned on with that and had lunch with Judge Tefteller, and he says, I was just telling him about it. He said, I think we need that. I think we need that in our school system. And at that time, he was on the school board, and I said, well, I agree with you. And so, through the Gilmer, I want to thank the Gilmer School Board, first and foremost, and of course, Judge Tefteller and the Gilmer School Board, and most of all, I want to thank our superintendent, Rick Albritton, for endorsing this program and really giving it legs in the Gilmer area for where it's at in the last year or two. And so, as you know, it takes some leadership to get this thing going. And I'm honored to introduce a gentleman that we're pleased to have in the Boys and Girls Club in our area, Chad Patterson. Chad, if you will, come on.
Thank you. So is it okay if I act like a kid and come out front? Is that all right? David, thank you for those kind words. Rick, it's good to see you. I'm honored to be here today. And I know I have 2 hours, so I'm going to try to take it. I only have a few minutes, and I want to just plant the seed with you. I want to start with why, and I want to end with why today. Let me tell you a little bit about why I'm standing here today. I'm a third-generation kiddo from Conroe, Texas. I was blessed to have a family that loved community service. I can actually say I'm a second-generation Rotarian. So I'm very honored always, I'm dormant right now. I need to become more active, if that's the right word. I will be active soon. But I love Rotary. I love the 4-way test. My first memory of Rotary was with my dad, kind of like William being here with his granddad. The legacy of that is beautiful, and I was blessed with that. I helped my dad with a pancake breakfast. That was my first Rotary experience. Dad is still active as of today. So anyway, I love Rotary. But today, let me just remind us why. Why are we here? Why do we show up? Why does our car take us somewhere on purpose? What is the why that drives you? And I want you to really think about that. For me, the why of Boys and Girls Clubs is all about the mission. I made a commitment in my senior year in high school to go into ministry. And so I was licensed in high school. And what I thought that would look like would be I would serve on a church staff somewhere. And I think any of us who've been around church and ministry recognize very quickly it's way bigger than just the walls of a church. And so that's been my heart since high school. I've been blessed to work for organizations like Buckner Children and Family Services. I was an ISD special ed teacher for 13 years in Conroe. I've been with Presbyterian Children's Homes and Services, and I've dropped off kids at Camp Gilmont. I've been with a Crisis Assistance Center in Conroe, where we helped people get on their feet, a hand up, not just a hand out. That's been my whole life. Until recently, I thought when I grew up, I was going to be a leadership coach. So I got certified on the John Maxwell team. If any of you know the name John Maxwell, one of the greatest leadership writers on the planet. I'm a little biased. And that was going good. That's literally what I was doing for the last couple of years. And then all of a sudden, this opportunity called the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Big Pines came across my radar. And you don't know me yet, but I mean this from the bottom of my heart. It just rocked my world. It stirred something back in here. It reminded me of my why. What I was doing was great. I think I was actually helping make a difference, but it wasn't my center why of why I feel like I was called in the ministry. So I am very fortunate that the board, and I have a board member here today, has given me the opportunity to come back into children and family services to make life better for kids. And so that's my why. That's why I get up every day and dress and go to work. Today I want to encourage you to think about, what do kids need most today in Gilmer, Texas? Anybody? When you think of a kid today, in 2019, what's the top two things that come to mind in terms of what you think kids need, not just to survive, but to thrive? I'm sorry? Mentors. Resources, somebody said? What else?
Positive role models.
Positive role models. Did someone say love? Is it okay to say the love word, right? Is it an okay word? Yes, our main heart is to love kids enough to where they can become productive, caring, responsible adults. To me, that's the centerpiece. That's our mission. That's the why we exist. And that's why we call ourselves the Boys and Girls Clubs. We're part of a 160-year-old national charity. We have a national office in Atlanta. So Boys and Girls Clubs have been around for a really, really long time. So we also have the freedom to lean on national for a lot of support and resources, but we have the freedom to do what's necessary and best for kids here in Gilmer. And that's what I love about the autonomy and freedom of Boys and Girls Clubs. We are called the Boys and Girls Clubs of the Big Pines. Not only do we have clubs in Gilmer, help me, I'm 3 months old, so I'm still trying to get the geography down. We're west, whichever way that is, west to Gladewater. We're east to Wascom. We're north to Mount Pleasant. And we're everywhere in between. We have two main campuses, Longview, Marshall. And we have sites in Hallsville, Spring Hill, help me, John, Jefferson, Elysian Fields. We have 20 school sites, and we have two main campuses. I also want to give a shout out to Rick and Catalyst people like David, one of our best partners of the school districts. And we could not do it without Gilmer ISD. So Rick, thank you for that. Let me get to the mission real quick. And I want to show you, we practiced this earlier, so hopefully it's going to work for us. I want to show you a real short video. It kind of captures the essence of the Boys and Girls Clubs. Let's see if it'll load. Okay, check this out.
These are more than just the sounds of the characteristics going to school. These are the sounds of interesting impact and the mentors making impact. The sound of tutoring and tech and health and fitness and arts and music. At Boys and Girls Clubs, we don't do just one thing. We do whatever it takes to meet the needs of every kid comes through those doors. Because whatever it takes is what it takes to build great futures. Great futures start here.
I love how we sing the song today, Great, right? In our opportunity as Boys and Girls Clubs of the Big Pines is to help kids recognize there's hope for a great future. We have a campaign going on right now where we're trying to raise resources and money to operate based on the concept our purpose is to give kids the opportunity for a great future. If you think about, how many of you are actually business people? You own a business? Okay. I guess not like us, we're a nonprofit. You want to be a profit, right? Most businesses exist to make a profit. I don't even really like the phrase nonprofit, because for me, the greatest opportunity we have, the most profitable activity we're a part of, is to help transform a kid's life. And that's the return on investment that we are shooting for every single day. I think of it in terms of stewardship, and that we are blessed, first of all, that parents trust us with their kids, but that we have the opportunity to pour our time and our talents and our treasure in a local community just like Gilmer to help kids have a great future. As a new CEO, it's really important to me that I do three things. That I champion cultural values, that I help develop our people to do the work. Our people are the Boys and Girls Clubs, our frontline staff are the club, and that we drive results. We want to produce kids that are caring, productive, responsible citizens. That's the ROI, that's the return on investment that we strive for every day. And so as you think about nonprofits around the country, I'm sure there are a lot of other great nonprofits here in Gilmer. When you give, do you expect anything in return? I mean, do you want to see fruit from your gifts? I'm wired to believe that the most precious thing that we have, in addition to the kids, are the gifts that people give us to do the work. And so I just want to make a promise to you publicly that we will always focus on making the most out of every gift of your time and your talent and your treasure to produce results. Some of the results nationally talk about how kids who participate in the Boys and Girls Clubs have a greater sense of hope for a future. They have a greater sense of belonging. They have a greater sense of purpose. A lot of them show more academic success because they're part of the Boys and Girls Clubs. I'm not saying we're the answer to everything, but we have the privilege to be a part of some really significant activities in kids' lives that help produce outcomes and impact. I want to spend most of my time, again, I asked you why when I first started, and I'm going to tell you my bookend, my why, of why I keep doing what I do. Man, time flies. I started full-time June 3rd, so about a month and a half ago, it was a Friday afternoon, my wife and I were just moving to Longview. My wife works for Habitat for Humanity in Longview. We both love community service. That's what we feel like we're here to be a part of. But we're moving, I'm unpacking boxes, it's a Friday night, I was ready to go home. Have you been there?
Yeah.
Right? My heart's in it, right? I'm packed, I'm literally walking towards my door, and the shadow stands in my door frame. And Shelley, our director of operations, says, "Hey Chad, I want you to meet Devon." David, I'm pretty sure this is the young man you might have been talking about in the story. Devon grew up in the club in Marshall. You can't even make some of the stuff up that we hear. Living in cars, no parents, homeless, all the worst of the worst stuff you can imagine. There are living, breathing kiddos who actually experience that. I know it's everywhere, right? So Tavon's standing in my doorframe, and so I just kind of take a deep breath. And an hour and a half later, I learn about the story of Tavon. Tavon is my why. He reminded me of why we do what we do. Tavon grew up in the club in Marshall, and now he's married for 2 years. He's obtained his associate's degree. He has decided to go back into public ed, Rick, to give back like he was given to the Boys and Girls Club. So he'll probably become a teacher in the next 2 to 3 to 4 years, his wife both. So when I think about the purpose of why we exist, that's a living, breathing example of the fruit. That's the return on investment that we hope to help create. And so I could talk for hours literally, but I want to give a couple of minutes to John, a Newstead, who is on our board of governors, and he's also on the Longview Council. And I'd like for John to share a little bit about his story and why he's been a part of the Boys and Girls Clubs.
Go Buckeyes. And so I graduated in 2003 from Gilmer. And so Rick was also my superintendent when I was here. When I graduated, my brother as well. And my brother is actually a Upshur County Sheriff Deputy here too. So My parents still live here in Upshur County, so in Gilmer. So glad to be back and able to come here and talk to y'all. So thank you for allowing us to come in. As Chad said, I'm on the Board of Governors, which oversees the whole governing body of the club. And then you have the local councils, which are our advisory councils and our very active members that help spread the word in the local council, fundraise, and be advocates for the club. And so Gilmer is very blessed to have a very excellent club here. So with that story, I'll kind of give 2 bookends of my why. And so Chad asked you about that and one of the things that my mom was a single mom with 2 kids. And if you know my brother, that was a challenge, because I was an angel. So growing up in that, my mom, after she had leave my dad, and we grew up in poverty, and we were in Longview at the time going to Pine Tree. And so I was one of the kids that would greatly appreciate something like the Boys and Girls Club. And I know more so now that I have 2 kids, 3 and 18 months, that I would have, knowing that as a parent, I would have appreciated it. So what I did when I was going to school, this is kind of how it works, is there's somebody that's on the bus route that lives somewhere near our house. You pay them a few dollars, you kind of get dropped off there, and they stay watching TV while you go, hopefully not hurt yourself. And that's kind of that's babysitting. And where Boys and Girls Club, they provide tutoring, home help, and homework help, and a lot of other programs like Passport to Manhood and some other things to teach these students, where I was not getting that. I was getting dropped off and doing that. And then on the other side of it too, we offer summer programming. And on the other side of that is my mom, because she couldn't afford to put me in summer program, any kind of club, she would drop us off at my grandma's house about 3 hours away. And so we spend that time with her. Now as a kid growing up and looking back at it, it's the fondest memories that I have, spending time with my grandparents and doing that. So I'm thankful that I have family members that they could do that. But looking at it again as a family, as a parent, I cannot imagine dropping my kids off 3 hours away and not seeing them for weeks at a time. Okay? And so you understand we were young, growing up, all that stuff going on. And then there was one summer, I don't know entirely the full details of it, but we were not able to go to my grandma's house for some reason. And so at the time we were living in Pine Tree. We knew the owners of the courthouse in Longview, which is basically, it's a gym. If you're not familiar with the courthouse, it's called the Stafford Fitness now. So he knew us, he knew we were good kids, and even though we weren't of age, we weren't old enough to stay home, so we had to be somewhere. So my mom said, hey, y'all go there. At least there's some sort of supervision there. But that was what we did. We got dropped off. We were there from 8 to 5, basically, till my mom could pick us up, and that was our summer. Okay? So that's the kind of things that are going through the cracks. Now with that too, on the why part of it, I'm a banker, right? So when I looked at it, I look at everything on a return of investment. So we have William here, who's the future. And so understanding compounding returns, right? So whenever you invest in a child, that will compound throughout. As Rick can tell you too, and other educators, there's what's called summer slide. And so what happens is they've actually done a statistic study where they found that the kids from low to moderate incomes actually learned as much as other kids did during the school year. What happened was due to the summer slide, those kids started to fall off. And you lose about 2 months worth of reading, about 2.5 months of math because of summer slide. The teachers spend 4 to 6 weeks, 90% of them, reteaching their kids every summer when they come back to get them back to where they need to be. All right? Those kids that are not getting any kind of education in the summertime, about 2 months, 2.5 months, by the time they reach middle school, they're 2 years behind. Okay? So that is the difference in the impact that you're kind of influencing whenever you're providing some kind of after-school program and stuff like that with kids that may not have the abilities and the means that we're thankful that we're able to provide our children. And with my mom sacrificing the way that she did to bring us up, she knew that, hey, I want to do that so that when they raise their kids, they will not have to do that. But my mom probably never expected that in turn, I would be in turn helping others in the future that would also be impacted. So I thank y'all for your time. Chad, anything else?
Thanks, man. So, were you looking on John's pleasure? Was John really the angel, like I said? Or?
Trust me, I'd rather not be.
I wanted to leave just a couple of minutes for questions. Again, I could babble about this for hours, but I'm curious what thoughts, questions anybody might have for us? David.
Where in town is the club? And
It's
how
at
do
the
they get
elementary school, right, Rick? I think, okay. And most of the kiddos are just already there, but is there, forgive my ignorance, I'm still a little new. Are any of the kids bused there, Rick, do you know? Or is it all just kiddos there at that campus?
It's open to anybody, but mainly our kids, staff at school.
Okay.
Now, during the summer,
Yeah.
we serve anybody that comes.
Yeah. And thank you for the meals this summer. Gilmer ISD stepped up and fed our
There's some
kiddos.
meals for everybody, but that's one of the.
Well, we appreciate that, though.
That's one of the feds do that. But
Yeah.
he won't say it, I will.
Do you need this?
No, I don't need it. The thing that they need is community support. Just support from a few people, whether the school district provides them a place. It truly is something that's great for our kids during the summer, during the day, because they keep kids there till 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and we need partners. You see in the video, if you want to come by one afternoon, twice a month, and help kids learn some art, or jujitsu, or playing the harmonica, any of those kinds of things, that's what happens at Boys and Girls Clubs. And we need community people to be doing that. They'll also take the money, as most nonprofits will. But more than that, it's just that support of people coming in, giving these kids an experience that they don't get at home. They don't have a bicycle to walk out and things like that we did. We just got a kid recently, I don't know if y'all remember Curtis Brown, his story. He lived in a car while he went to school. We have many, many kids in our community that need additional help because their moms and dads are working 2 jobs, 3 jobs, and they're there by themselves. So I can't say how much I enjoy it. In Amarillo, we had Boys and Girls Clubs, and I did out on Saturdays. I was there from 8 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock at night. It's a great opportunity for our kids. So they really provide something that we just have not had, and it needs to expand. Our kids needs more things after school, during the summer, just to help them enrich their lives and keep them out of trouble.
Thanks for that, Rick. Yeah.
What's the age group of the participants?
We can serve kiddos who are at least 5 years old, so basically K through 12. But here, I think it goes through 5th or 6th.
Sixth grade.
So what about having volunteers that are teenagers?
We can do that. We have a process where they can be like junior staff. And you can just go on our website, or my information is on the table. And we love mentoring. I think someone said that earlier, not just with adults, but kids need kids too. And so there's definitely some options for that. I want to acknowledge Janice and David, and if I'm missing anyone, they're on the local advisory council here in Gilmer, and I want to just honor them and thank you for your time, talent, and treasure. David, I think you had a question or a comment?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the enrollment fee
Okay.
for a child.
Yeah, great question. So for per month, and this is after school, I think here is 3 to 6. Some of our sites go 3 to 7. It's $75 a month, and there's a $25 application fee once a year. And so that includes a snack. And the main 2 things we do is help with homework and academic tutorial support, but obviously we mix it in with a lot of fun. We focus on the whole kid, so we do a lot of fun and recreation and stuff like that too, but it's $75 a month. And then we also offer a sliding scale, and that's the most anyone would pay, but based on your income, we follow I guess you would call them the poverty guidelines. So there's a sliding scale based on someone's income that we verify. The least I think someone pays is like $25 a month. So so the reality for us is obviously we would love to not charge anything. Well, we want to charge a little bit because we think people need to have a little stake in the game. But we want to reduce the fees, especially for our lower income families. And if you look at the Big Pines, I think statistically 60 to 70% of the kids we serve across 5 counties meet poverty guidelines. And so for us, it's a challenge to raise the funds in order to continue providing for the least of these, I would call them. So, and during the summer, 9 months on average, 2 meals a day through the school district. I think it's $500 for the summer, if I remember correctly. That's the most you would pay. And so again, the lease, I think, goes down to about $200 for the summer. So if you look at a cost comparison, we're a pretty good deal. But again, the reality is a lot of the families choose between gas, prescriptions, food, summer programming. I mean, a lot of the families we serve, like me, I'm very spoiled. I've got food in my refrigerator, gas in my truck, matching shoes. A lot of the families we serve don't have any margin. And so that's the gap I'm most passionate about trying to fill, to where every kid that needs us has access to us.
Chad,
Yes, Janice.
the important thing is right now is what we're looking for is for donations and people to help towards us doing funding and trying to get together fundraisers.
Yeah.
So anything that any member could do to help us fund this would be excellent and would be very appreciative.
Yeah, thank you for that. And like Rick said, we obviously, I don't know about y'all, but I like to give. I want to be a good steward, right? But even your time and your talents, please don't be turned off by the money part. That's obviously a need, no doubt. But sometimes maybe your initial gift is just give some time. Or if you have talents, I wish I could play anything musical. That's resource development that still gives our kids some very rich experiences. So please don't minimize that. Of course, we need dollar bills to do what we do. But your time and your talents come right very close to that in my perspective. So please start with one of those, your time, your talent, or your treasure. I need to probably stop. Okay. Hey, thank y'all so, David, thank you for the
Thank you so much. Excellent program, excellent